Aloha, everyone.
Aloha, aloha mai kako, aloha. Welcome to our spring 2023 convocation. Yeah, we're going to begin with our oli.
Aloha mai kako pau kui luna e olu olu mai. Let's stand together. For me? One more. It's a wonder. E o palehua kuahi vila pa. E o palehua kuahi vila. E kuahi vino kalani. O ka la. O ka oh, hey, I know where I will na puaha ahe o ka aina.
Aloha, everyone. On behalf of the University of Hawaii, West Oahu, it is with profound reflection that we offer up this ho'oia aina, this land acknowledgement, acknowledging Hawaii as an indigenous space whose original people are today identified as Native Hawaiians. The University of Hawaii, West Oahu aligns with the University of Hawaii's commitment to foster the well-being of all students within an indigenous lens through academic and social processes through a 10-campus system-wide transformation we call Hawaii Papa Okeo. With much aloha, I, Perlina Stone, offer up this land acknowledgement to welcome all gathered in this ahupua'a we call Hono Uli Uli in the Moku of Ewa within the Moku Puni of Oahu. This is Hawaii ne, ano ai ke aloha.
For our inspiration today, we have our kupuna, Auntie Lynette Paglinawan.
As we begin this new year, we give acknowledgement to the Aina. But let us also be reminded of the legacy of the previous owners of this Aina, the legacy of Abigail and James Campbell, the legacy that they pass on to us of living in a pono and aloha way. They demonstrated their lifetime to sharing and learning with all who pass through these lands. That is a legacy for us here at University of Hawaii, West Oahu. We acknowledge their legacy, but we acknowledge the spiritual entities that abide here, that come with us every day of our lives. whether we are conscious of it or we have set it aside from our lives. So let us at this time give recognition and call for the supreme powers that each one of us believes in. And also recognize those internal spiritual entities that we bring with each of us. Kevelina na kua, na kinia kua, na auma kua me na kupuna. My. Let us reach into ourselves to connect with ancestors and others that helped us to be the kind of people we are, interested in helping and for caring others. Let us pool our spiritual strengths and express our love and gratitude to them for their guidance and protection. May we be blessed with mana from our spiritual entities to work together in pono and aloha. Aloha given, aloha received. Caring, malama aku malama mai. Showing caring to someone else. Receiving caring for ourselves too. Being genuine and sincere in our commitments. With grateful hearts and an alert mind, na kia kua e ho'opo mai ka ia o ko. Aloha, aloha, aloha. Mahalo.
Auntie, we are certainly blessed and privileged that you keep coming at the beginning of every one of our semesters to inspire us and to remind us who we are and what we have to share with so many of our students and their families who come through our doorstep every day. Mahalo, mahalo again. So welcome, everyone. I would like to first start off with thanking those people who have made this day possible. For my entire staff in the Chancellor's office, who yesterday rolled down all of the items, all of the food, all of the drinks and everything for today. Thank you to all of you, to Clinton and the staff from the Office of the Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs. Thank you for checking everybody in. To our janitorial service who made sure that this place was clean, to Malia and Lynn who set up our space, and to all of our IT people who are making sure this is recorded. This will be recorded and placed on our website for those people who would like to watch it again, or for those people who were unable to make it today. The entire PowerPoint presentation will also be available if you'd like to review that. Also, I will be putting the PowerPoint in Monday's newsletter that I will be sending out through communications. So today's convocation is really an opportunity for us to bring you all up to date on what's going on our campus. And it's always a great way to start off the new year, but also a great way to kick off all the many wonderful and exciting activities, initiatives that we started in the fall, and we will just put a little bit more elbow grease in to it this spring semester. I'd like to, first of all, start off with reminding everyone of our mission and our value proposition. So let's see if I can actually get this. So the vision of our campus, UH West Oahu, is a premier comprehensive Indigenous serving institution dedicated to educating students to be engaged global citizens and leaders in society. UH West Oahu fosters a dynamic learning environment where all students, faculty, and staff embody and perpetuate Pacific and global understanding rooted in Native Hawaiian values. Our mission, UH West Oahu offers a distinct and accessible student-centered education that focuses on the 21st century learner. The university embraces Native Hawaiian culture and traditions while promoting student success in an environment where students of all ethnic backgrounds are supported. Our campus fosters excellence in teaching, learning, and service to the community. Our value proposition. UH West Oahu prepares 21st century leaders, career creators, through integrated transdisciplinary programs where learners discover, innovate, and engage diverse communities to create a vibrant and just world. I wanted the opportunity to go through all three of these with you because these are the ideals on which we will be assessing our impact on our communities that we serve over the next several years. So this is the overview of the presentation today, and I want to thank ahead of time all of the people who will be presenting. We're going to start off with the director of our Institution for Research Office, John Stanley, who will be doing his magic with the numbers. And then followed by everything you wanted to know about our fiscal situation. Well, almost everything. So our CFO, Sherry Ching, will come and present our current campus finances, followed by the Vice Chancellor of Academic Affairs, Dr. Jeff Moniz, and our new interim Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs, Dr. Lokelani, will bring us up to date on our student success initiatives. This will be followed by two presentations from our administrative unit. The first will be on where we stand with IT on our campus, and Therese Nakadamari, our Director for Information Technology Services, will be presenting. And this is something that you all want to know, right? When will the rail open? No, Bonnie, I won't let you. I won't put that on you today. So Bonnie Arakawa, who is the lead for our planning, our design and planning unit, will bring you up to date on our land use, what's going on, what you will see happening over the next couple of years. And then I'll bring everything to, I'll be between you and lunch. So I will try to be brief, just bring you up to speed on where we are and how we're moving forward. So, ready, John? Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot all about this. I need to see, this is what happens when I don't have Layla. So I'm actually doing all of Layla's part. I was going to ask Brian to do it, but he's too busy taking pictures. I do want to welcome our new UH West Oahu Ohana members. If you are here today, if you would stand so I can recognize you. I know that there's about half of you who are here. Matthew Chrisman, who is one of our security officers, he usually works on nights and weekends, right, Daryl? So maybe you can come by and on the weekend and wave to him. Right, everybody says, right, we'll do that, right. Samantha Farinella, sorry, our new, she was a lecturer for a while and now she is a faculty member in creative media, not here today. Samantha Giridar. There she is, way in the back, waving at you next to Charla. Welcome. Ariel Grunthal Rankin from Forensic Anthropology. Good to see you. Nicole Kurashige. No. And then Olin Sisambath, right? Olin is starting with us on Monday. Thank you so much for showing up today. And Terrell Travis, who started with us several weeks ago, both from our grounds crew. You will be seeing some new faces very soon, joining the campus leadership. Dave McDonald will be joining us on February 1st. He will be our new Vice Chancellor for Administration. And I will make this announcement, but it is not a done deal until it appears on the Board of Regents agenda on Thursday, January 19th, but joining us on the following Monday, which is Monday, January 23rd, will be Dr. Jessica Miranda, who will be joining us as the Director for Strategic Directions, Assessment, and Accreditation for the entire campus. So we're very happy to have her. Now it's your turn, Jeff.
Thank you, Chancellor. Good morning. Happy New Year, everyone. I've been asked to present some trend data on enrollment and student achievement. So I prepared some graphs and charts for you. So bear with me while I present these for a few minutes. Let's see. This one? Okay, here we go. So historical enrollment, this line graph shows enrollment at present time going all the way back to 1976 when we first opened our doors. From that point on, for the first 30 years, we had slow but consistent growth right up until about 2008 when we were affirmed as a full four-year baccalaureate university. At that time, we saw very rapid growth. We crossed the 1,000 student threshold and tripled our enrollment in 10 years. We were noted as the fastest growing baccalaureate regional college in the nation by the Chronicle of Higher Education. Since then, enrollment, if we look more closely, since moving into our new campus in 2012, we've peaked at around about 3,000 students. We fell to 2,913 this last fall. That was the first in 6 years that we've fallen below 3,000 students. But we're still right there. We're very close to that 3,000 mark. There are a few headwinds ahead, though, that we're concerned about. When we disaggregate this data by a few groups of students, particularly our new entering students, first-time and transfer students, we had 216 students enter last fall, first-time students, and 463 transfer students enter. These were our lowest numbers in 11 years since prior to moving into the new campus. As new student enrollment and overall enrollment wane a little bit, we're going to see that affect some of the other groups of students. Native Hawaiian, part Hawaiian students, and Filipino are our two largest racial ethnic groups of students on campus. Native Hawaiian students has seen a 10% decrease in the last 5 years. Filipino students, a 3% decrease. Meanwhile, early college has been seeing a steady increase over the last 5 or 6 years. They had an all-time high of 330 students. So you can see that the overall enrollment is a little bit more precarious, giving the new student numbers and the early college numbers kind of holding up that overall enrollment number. When we look at admissions by some of our key feeder schools, these are the overall trends of number of applicants, number of accepted students, and number of accepted students who eventually enroll, which would be the blue bars in these graphs. For the most part, we're close to where we've been kind of historically with the enrollment counts. Kapolei has seen a consistent decrease in demand with admissions, but we did see 35 students enroll from Kapolei, which was an all-time high this fall. So that's certainly notable. But some work to be done when you look at Kapolei, Waipahu, and even Waianae in terms of the trend with the number of admissions applications that are coming in. Retention and graduation rates. The top charts reflect the first-time full-time freshman retention and graduation rates. the last 2 years, we've been just below our peer average for retention rates. Prior to that, we were surpassing our peer average rate consistently. We're just below that rate right now at 68.9%. We've seen 2 years of 1 year of improvement. We're looking closely at the fall 21 continuing students for spring 22 right now, or spring 23 rather right now. Our 6-year graduation rates, we're at 32.7%. That's below our peer average. But the good news is the 2017 cohort already has a 42% 5-year graduation rate. So at minimum, the 6-year graduation rate next year will be at least 42%, and that's going to put us above our peer average. Degrees awarded, really solid picture here. We've doubled the number of bachelor degrees awarded since moving into our new campus in 2012. We're up to 738 bachelor degrees awarded. That's really helping us on the performance funding side of the house. Most of these performance funding metrics are related to degrees awarded for Native Hawaiian students and Pell recipients in particular. We're in the green for all 3 of those measures. We're in the yellow for the 6-year graduation rate measure. We're just right around the threshold for that. But again, we're going to be at 42% minimum next year. So that'll put us above our goal. So we should have 4 out of 5 of these measures in the green next year. The transfer in numbers, as you saw from a few slides prior, is a little bit more of a challenge to hit that goal of 810 new transfer ins from the community colleges, especially considering the community colleges are going through kind of consistent decline in enrollment for the last 10 years. All right. And then finally, just FYI, we have our Quick Facts dashboard. This is one of our data visualizations that we have as part of our comprehensive university fact book online. We provided a URL here at the bottom of this screenshot. This dashboard just offers the opportunity to go in and kind of have an interactive look at the enrollment disaggregated by some of the key student categories. You can click on certain areas of these charts. The data will filter for those respective areas. And this also has a link out to U.S. Census American Community Survey data, which includes data about our surrounding catchment, socioeconomic data, level of education for our surrounding neighborhoods like Eva and Kapolei. So if you're interested in additional data, the Quick Facts dashboard is a great place to start and provide you with some of that information. That's all I have. Thank you so much, and we will continue with the next array of slides here on campus finances. Thank you.
Aloha and Happy New Year. I hope you all enjoyed the holidays with family and friends, and today finds you ready to start the spring semester. Today I have a privilege of spending a little bit of time with you and sharing a little piece of my world as I discuss our campus finances. Please note, we will only be discussing our general funds. These are the funds that we receive from the state, as well as our tuition and fee special funds. These are, more often you hear TFSF, but this refers to basically our tuition dollars. This makes up on average about 95% of our operating budget. Okay, let's keep it simple. I'm going to try my best not to bore you with all the nitty-gritty details of our finances, but here are some of the questions that I'm hoping will be answered, at least at a high level. First, how did we get here? This speaks to the general financial history of our campus. We'll take a look back from when we opened our doors at our new Kapolei campus in August 2012 to now. How do we spend our funds? We'll review our current expenditure mix. And finally, what's the future financial outlook of our campus? We'll take a look at where we are headed, covering both the positives as well as some areas of potential concern. Okay, we'll start with our historic financial overview. Please note that these numbers are displayed in thousands, and the graph displays our historic operating surplus or deficit. Fiscal 2013 marked our first fiscal year at our new Kapolei location. At the end of that year, we experienced an operating deficit of $859,000 and an unencumbered cash balance of $330,000. Fiscal 2015 was a huge year for us as we received 89 position counts from the legislature and $4 million. In addition, we received 4.5 positions from Manoa. Growth continued for the next few years. Additional positions and funds were received from the state, and our TFSF continued to grow as enrollment increased and we continued to maintain an operating surplus. In March 2020, the COVID pandemic hit us. As a result, the legislature swept our vacancies and we were left with 15.2 less positions in fiscal 2021. The legislature also permanently reduced our general fund base by $2.7 million or 15%, to be realized in fiscal 2022 with a reduction of $1.08 million and another $1.62 million in fiscal 2024. Luckily, due to the receipt of approximately $15.6 million in federal higher education emergency relief funds, or HERF, we were able to restore ourselves the $1.08 million that we lost in general funds in fiscal 2022 and received a permanent restoration of those funds this fiscal year. However, the permanent $1.62 million reduction is in the budget from next fiscal year. Due primarily to our HERF funds, we ended both fiscal 2021 and 2022 with a significant surplus that led to our unencumbered cash balance of approximately $26 million as of June 30, 2022. This exceeded the reserve requirement established by the Board of Regents. Due to a number of factors, including collective bargaining increases, inflation, further costs associated with campus reopening, the elimination of S397, which I'll touch upon a bit later, and an anticipated decline in tuition revenues, we did forecast a flat or balanced budget for fiscal 2023. This slide illustrates the breakout of our revenues between our general funds and TFSF. As mentioned on the last slide, fiscal 2015 was marked with tremendous growth in general funds with an increase of 54.3%. As you can see from the bar graph, our funding mix began with more funding coming from TFSF, or the section in red, and over the years has transitioned to more funding now coming from general funds versus TFSF, due primarily to the recent increase in collective bargaining as well as the decline in tuition revenues. This slide represents our current expenditure mix, basically how we spend our funds by major expenditure category. The first column represents our actual expenditures and transfers in fiscal 2022, and the second column represents our fiscal 2023 budget. The pie chart pictorially displays our fiscal 2022 actuals, and I'll briefly walk through these major expenditure categories. As you can see, the biggest expense, accounting for about 70%, or that large blue piece of the pie, that represents our payroll. The increase between fiscal year 22 and 23 is due to collective bargaining increases and the elimination of S397 coupled with the anticipated increase in fringe benefit rates. For those of you unfamiliar with what S397 is, S397 was basically an off-the-books cost-sharing agreement that provided flexibility for the state and the university to mitigate the effects of general fund reductions. For legislatively authorized general funded positions, where there's a shortage of general funds, tuition can be used to pay for the salary while general funds continues to pay for the fringes. And the current impact of this elimination to our campus bottom line this fiscal year is approximately $1 million. Operating expenditures include things like office supplies, repair and maintenance, IT costs, travel, etc. Utilities include electricity, water, sewer, gas, and phone costs. The primary driving factor of the increase in these categories are due to further campus reopening as well as inflation. Because our campus was built with $68 million in revenue bonds, we are responsible to pay for the debt service on those bonds. So similar to a mortgage. Final payment on our debt service obligation is scheduled to be completed in 2040. And this represents approximately 11% of our total expenditures and is paid for with tuition. In regards to scholarships, we are required to provide at least 12% of prior year academic revenue in need-based scholarships. We historically budget for this plus an additional $380,000 in non-need-based scholarships. Since our campus was built with revenue bonds, in addition to paying debt service, we also are required to place 50% of our prior year's depreciation expense in a reserve fund. We were able to fully fund this reserve requirement last year, but did not budget the full amount this year due to the forecasted decline in tuition revenue, as well as the increase in our cost projections. Depending on our actual fiscal 2023 results, we are very hopeful that we will be able to contribute further to the R&R reserve. System assessments include our campus portion of shared costs related to like university systems like Banner, as well as services like UH Foundation. And finally, an allowable use of HERE funds is revenue loss. As I mentioned earlier, we transferred $1.08 million into our TFSF to cover the general fund reductions experienced in fiscal 2022. In fiscal 23, we also planned for a transfer of approximately $400,000 related to tuition revenue loss experienced from the start of the COVID pandemic to June 30, 2022. So what's our future financial outlook? Well, first of all, our HERE funds are set to expire June 30, 2023, and we are on good track to fully expend those funds. However, things to keep in mind include costs that we have been paying for on HERE. To give you an idea of magnitude, based on fiscal year 22 actuals, we incurred approximately $1.1 million in payroll costs and another $972,000 in other costs. These costs will need to be analyzed, looked at to determine what needs to be continued, where funding will come from if continued, and what reductions may need to be implemented. As mentioned earlier, the elimination of S397 this fiscal year equates to a financial impact of approximately $1 million, and we will need to account for this as we move forward. As part of this year's biennium budget requests, we have requested the permanent restoration of the $1.62 million in general funds. We have also requested an additional 22 FTEs, which equates to approximately $1.5 million per year. Most positions currently funded with the HERE funds were included in the 22 FTEs, along with additional position requests from academic affairs, student affairs, and administration. $5 million was also included to provide the Hawaii Promise Scholarship at our campus. We should have a good idea of what the legislature has approved by early May. And to end on a positive note, our campus just received $800,000 in coronavirus state fiscal recovery funds from the state. So these funds were not included in our fiscal 2023 budget and are one-time funds and will be used for a variety of campus initiatives, including $300,000 related to startup costs for our pre-nursing partnership program with Manoa and $500,000 for facilities-related costs that were initially deferred due to funding constraints this year. So as you can see, there's a number of upcoming uncertainties in our future financial outlook, but I remain very hopeful that this legislative session will be positive and fruitful. Additionally, due to our good financial stewardship efforts and the strategic use of our HERE funds, we were able to substantially grow our cash reserves, which will provide bridging as necessary. I thank you for your time and for bearing with me. I know it was a lot of information, and the slide deck will be available for future viewing. But please, I'm always available. Reach out to me with any questions or just to talk story. I thank you again, and I wish you a wonderful spring semester.
So before Jeff comes on, I do want to personally thank Sherry and her team for everything that she's done over the last 2 years of COVID, when we've realized such significant cuts. To be where we are right now is certainly part of her ability to keep us staying the course and within parameters, and also finding creative ways to help us to do the things that we need to do. So Sherry, thank you to you and your staff for everything that you've done and will continue to do, of course. Yeah. I also wanted to remind everyone that we do have a University Budget Advisory Council that meets with Sherry and I every month. And these are people that do understand everything, well, right? Do understand everything behind us, who bring your concerns to us. We deliberate, we discuss, we try to figure out ways forward, so that you know who these people are. If you have any questions or you have concerns that you want to share with them, can I have our UBAC members stand up? Come on, there they are. Thank you very much for your service. Yes. All right.
Good morning. I'm Jeff Moniz, for those who haven't met me yet, the Vice Chancellor, your Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs. Let me see, let me advance this. I'll be focusing my update on the different modalities we've been using to meet our teaching demands since 2019. Basically, we'll take a look at our modality trends since the spring of 2019 up until today. First, I want to make sure to give credit where credit is due. Thank you, Princess Suarez, our scheduler / data analyst, for creating these slides with me. And we'll be focusing on just 3 slides. Before I jump into the first slide, I want to provide a definition of a modality. I'm referring to the manner or way that a class is being taught. For example, is it in person or online? If it's online, is it online but scheduled to meet at a certain time? Or is it asynchronous, when a learner has the flexibility to engage in the class at their convenience? Those different ways, that's what I'm referring to as modalities. And I'll be spending most of my time on the first slide. The other 2 should be relatively quick. You ready? Okay. Yeah. Let me first talk you through the stacked bar chart on the right, instead of bogging you down with the text on the left. First off, the bar chart shows a pretty consistent level of class offerings across the 5 spring semesters. So around 500 classes each semester, each spring semester. It's when you look at the modality categories stacked in each bar that you see dramatic shifts in the manner or way that we've offered classes. Ignore the green trend line for now. We'll get to that in a moment. But take note of the 4 different modality categories we're using. Online is represented in the yellow portion. Blended in orange is when there are 2 course reference numbers, 2 CRNs for the same class. 1 CRN for the students taking the class in person, and 1 CRN for the students taking the class fully online. In a blended class, the in-person and online students are taught together at the same time. Hybrid classes, represented in the dark blue, are those classes that have 1 CRN, where instruction for all students include both online and in-person sessions. For example, a hybrid class could be mostly online with some regular or occasional in-person meetings. Finally, in-person classes, represented in the light blue, should need no introduction. It's the traditional face-to-face way that most classes have been taught. If you look back at the springs of 2019 and 2020 on the chart, you see that the in-person classes made up the largest portion of our class offerings. Okay, that's the blue. Back to the, now to the green line. The green trend line is superimposed onto this modality chart to show that we also had 20 new distance education concentrations and certificates approved over this time. We had been, after all, responding to the call to increase distance learning in accordance with the plans for UH West Oahu. Those plans including the Board of Regents Integrated Academic and Facilities Plan, and of course, our Strategic Action Plan. Now back to the modalities. Note the dramatic drop in the in-person modality in spring 2021. That's when 96% of our spring classes were offered fully online. Since that time in spring 21, on-site offerings have increased, focused on the portion of each bar that's not yellow, not online. I can't point it. Even if you just compare from last spring to this spring, on-site offerings continue to rise, increasing by 33% from spring 22 to spring 23. Still, our on-site offerings are down by 42% since the time before the pandemic. Moving forward, we know that there are multiple demands for how we teach. How we balance these demands is key. How do we optimize our offerings to try and satisfy the various demands? Okay, on to this slide. This slide is intended to show our efforts to satisfy the various demands in the context of our regular cancellation of low enrolled classes. This chart shows the evolution, going from left to right, of our scheduled offerings for this current spring 2023 semester. Note that we further broke out the online classes to distinguish between online asynchronous offerings in green and online scheduled offerings in yellow. The main takeaway from this slide is that I'm trying to show that we've made great efforts, even through the challenge of the cancellation period, to maintain our level of offerings that have scheduled meetings or are in person. Now on to my last slide. Looking ahead to the scheduling of fall 2023, yes, we are now working on fall 2023. Academic Affairs has provided some guidelines for division chairs and faculty to consider as they navigate the teaching demands placed upon the division and determine the instructional workload for their division. We don't have time in this presentation to go into great detail, but these are the considerations that I want to highlight, and I'll be ending with these considerations. First, remember your particular WASC program approvals. If you're approved for on-site delivery, don't forget your students who want to take your classes in person. Next, remember that we have students who need some kind of on-site instruction, whether in person or hybrid, in order to receive their VA benefits. Also, keep in mind that we have students, some with disabilities, who stand to benefit from instruction that is regularly scheduled. For some students, not having scheduled check-ins is not conducive to their learning. Another thing that we should really be considering is when we schedule in-person and online scheduled classes. Keep in mind that some students may have to take both kinds of classes on the same day without much time for transitioning between classes. Also, keep in mind that we are constantly working hard to revitalize our campus with more body heat. And finally, consider going blended. It may require additional professional development and some courage to venture beyond familiar forms, but blended classes, in my opinion, are the Swiss Army knife of modalities. Going blended may not meet every teaching demand, but it really is the modality that can help address most of them. Thank you for your attention. And next up, we have Vice Chancellor Kenolio.
Aloha mai kako. Happy New Year to all of you. Happy New Year. I'd like to start by first asking Dr. Jan Javinar to please stand so we can mahalo you for your service. As a VCSA, we appreciate you and for your work these many years. Mahalo, Jan. Thank you, everyone. Mahalo for that. All right. "2022 was full of challenges and opportunities. Our students and their successes were extreme last year. We celebrated the highest number of high school applications. We celebrated numerous graduates this last year. But at the same time, we had a high number of students reconsidering college, seeking help for wellness, mental health care, financial support, and counseling services. We've seen trauma, but we've seen resilience in our students. And with that, the Student Affairs team have been laser focused on enrollment, on how to engage our campus and embracing our community. We were thrilled to be back in campus, in the high schools, at the community colleges, and on campus offering tours, which we brought back in March. Mahalo to the Student Affairs team, as well as the faculty and the staff who helped to reconnect with our community, both in person and online. Just look at those achievements just this past year. Look at the numbers. We offered over 84 events at the high schools, 70 FAFSA, financial aid, scholarship workshops, and nearly 200 campus tours. It was wonderful to have people back on campus and for us to be back in the schools with our students. The opportunity to connect with students, their ohana, our high school partners, the high school counselors and administrators has been needed and absolutely definitely appreciated. We've been focused on engaging the campus by really nurturing our current haumana. Knowing our region was one of the hardest hit with the pandemic and continues to heal and recover, we offered an expanded financial aid with our opportunity and momentum grants. We did calling campaigns. I know many of you in this room helped get on that phone, and we called every or most every continuing student, new potential freshman, and new potential transfer student to just a check-in. We also continue to engage our students in our advising, our testing, our tutoring, our career services, student life programs, but especially there was a high demand for that mental health and wellness care. Senator Hirona was here in November and asked to talk story with students who've been part of our grant programs. About 20 students all huddled with her in the Naulu Center. One of our freshmen, she shared that when she attended the Kiakahi Summer Bridge, that made all the difference in why West Oahu was the right fit for her. She said being a part of the program, she had 20 new friends. She took her first college class. She met amazing faculty and advisors, all that she needed to help give her that confidence for that first day of fall semester. Another one of our students, one that you guys all know, pretty familiar, recent graduate. He was the first in his ohana to come to college. He was intimidated. Like when I talked story with him, he goes, I was actually intimidated, like college. Big step. But he said he found his UH ohana here through our food, sustainable community food systems, through our student life programs, through our Aloha Aina student club that he created, and especially through our New Now project. That was that UH ohana that was foundation to him graduating this past spring. We've also had the opportunity to strengthen the pipelines and the partnerships with our K-12 schools and our Kapolei Chamber of Commerce. One of the highlights this fall was bringing back 1,300 students, teachers, counselors, business partners onto our campus right here on our great lawn. Just to have that much energy on our campus was wonderful. These ninth graders from Campbell and Kapolei were able to meet and interview business partners, potential places where they might work, as well as our UH West Oahu faculty and advisors. They got to know about potential careers for them. When they went back, this program is now a part of the high school's curriculum that helped ninth graders decide what's that pathway they're going to be a part of for their sophomore, junior, and senior year. It was an awesome day, and mahalo to everyone who was a part of that. As we launch forward, we must be strategic and intentional with enrollment as well as with our student success. The first thing we're going to take a look at is expanding our marketing plan to bridge the value of attending college. Just this past Wednesday, President Lasner shared his concern about the drop in our high schools to college going rate to 50%. That's 1 in 2 students, our community high school students, now going on to college. We know something's going on. We know there's the pandemic, but more is happening that we need to really address. There's also another conversation about breaking the paper ceiling around having a college diploma. So we need to really look at those messages about higher education when we know the value of the long-term effect on families when they have a college degree. We need to be a part of that message of how higher education can kokua your family and community here at West Oahu. The second area we need to continue to be intentional with is with our enrollment, but also our re-enrollment and yield of our students. We're going to really key in on how we pipeline and tighten those pipelines with the incoming freshmen, with the transfer students, as well as re-enrolling the continuing students. The work there is really critical, not just in the outreach, but also in making sure they find their right fit here at West Oahu. And then the third is we gotta upgrade our technology, starting with our application. We're doing that right now. Our admissions team is working hard with our IT team to roll over to a new application, which will allow for automation and go right into our student systems. But the other piece we need to really upgrade is our virtual tour, as well as our CRM, our communication tools of how we reach out to students. So technology is our friend, and we need to leap there and use those tools available. We're looking forward to a great semester with all of you. Mahalo again to our Student Affairs Ohana, who really pushed forward this past year to make it a good year for our students. Have a great spring. Aloha, everyone.
Which way? That was backwards. My staff just asked me if I know how to use this. And I said yes, and I made it go backwards. So that's the kind of day it's been. Happy New Year to everyone. And it's such a hard act to follow with Loke and Jeff, but I'm going to be short and sweet. Basically, during the pandemic and while everybody was starting to come back, IT has been busy trying to upgrade all the behind the scenes things that you rely on. So one of the things, and you can see right there, the little Aruba thing. Well, if you look around the room, there's one right above my head, and that is ancient. So my network people are working on upgrading those. And someone's calling me. Sorry. You know, always at the wrong time, right? So we're gonna be upgrading those in all the older buildings because they are 11 years old, the same age as the campus, and they need to be upgraded. What you can expect is probably faster speeds. We're looking at Wi-Fi 6, if you're familiar with the wireless technologies, and more security. We all need more security on our Wi-Fi, right? The other thing, and some of the buildings, classroom and the lab building, we've already successfully upgraded the network switches, which is the thing with the data jacks and your phone connects to. We upgraded those two buildings already. You shouldn't notice any disruption or speed changes because it's still 1 gigabit to your desktop. But it allows us in the future, if you guys all come back and start, you know, YouTubing and everybody streaming videos, whatever, at the same time, we got you. Okay. So these upgrades, these upgrades are designed to make sure nothing drops. Okay, cross my fingers, nothing drops. And if my team is in the room, can you stand up? Because they don't get recognized a lot of times. I saw more people. They might be running around prepping for the semester, but my AV team is up here too. Okay. So that's one thing. I'm getting to the AV part. And this would affect almost, oops, see, I don't know how to use this. The AV part, okay? A lot of you notice that the aging equipment is starting to not work. Like the projectors are super dim. Like you think you have to look through your eyeglasses and go, what does that say? You know, and it's getting dim. So we are working on getting equipment in, hopefully because of supply chain issues, it's supposed to come all in January, to upgrade all the classroom technologies, which means the computer will be upgraded, all the projectors. We didn't have enough money to do the screens, but at least the projectors. And it will also allow you to have more flexibility. We'll have document cameras. We'll have the full hybrid. If you've seen the rooms have TVs and the huddle cam that follows you around if you prefer to walk around the room. So all of that will be tied into this AV system that would give you superior projection.
It will be way better than this, I think. Okay, so give us some time. We're going to be working in each room throughout the semester and maybe throughout the fall and the summer. But in the end, you should see one of those little cabinets you see on the far right. You'll see a new cabinet there. And inside of that cabinet, we'll have the AV equipment. So many of you who have taught for us, the computer is in this closet that's way over there, right? And you have to walk over there to turn it on. Not anymore. We're going to put it in this cabinet or somewhere on the desk so that all you have to do is press the button and it'll turn on. Okay, a little bit more convenient. Another thing you'll notice is instead of that monitor in the middle, we will put up we'll have dual screens. And there are independent arms. So if you like to walk around and teach, you could flip it around. I mean, you could do anything you want. So it's designed to accommodate everybody's teaching style. Okay. I hope it works. Okay. So those are the things you're going to see physically in the room. The new cabinet and the little bunny ears with dual monitors on it. Okay. Better monitors. You should see clearly what you see on the projector on that screen. I teach in E140 and I see purple and pink all the time. So I'm waiting for the upgrade of the room. All right, so you shouldn't see that. I hope not. The latest upgrade will be D254. That is slated to be done soon. That was a grant funded AV upgrade, and it's supposed to be for small collaborative group instruction. I believe math is slated to go in that room to use it, and some other sciences. So hopefully the contractor can get all the equipment by this month and finish it by the end of February. That's it. Yeah, supply chain issues have really messed us up. Any questions? If you have questions, you can see me after and I'll gladly walk you through everything. So if you're new to campus or you haven't been here since the pandemic, you might want to schedule a walkthrough with my staff before your first day of class, because there's a lot of different and new things in the room that you could use. Okay, thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. And from my family, we say Akemashite Omedetou, which basically means let's celebrate the opening of the new year together. I see Brian and I putting our glasses on at the same time. First of all, thank you, Chancellor, for the opportunity to update everyone here about what's been happening on our campus, as well as the surrounding lands, including what's happening at Mauka. I'm privileged to talk about what's been referred to as our AINA, and it's an honor for me to be able to manage some of it, as well as in hand with the UH system office. So since I've already pointed up there, you've probably seen the project that's occurring on our Mauka lands. It looks like these slate gray blankets that have been laid over. Oh, thank you. Wow, I got the chancellor to assist me. My own personal IT. Okay. So it kind of reminds me of a crystal art installation. If you're familiar with that artist who does these really large scale landscape art installations in Japan, in California. His most recent one was in Paris, France. But he takes these large fabrics of recyclable material and he either drapes them over landmarks or he runs them in continuous fence patterns. So I like to think of this as our electric blanket that lays over our Mauka lands. Trying to put a positive, it's already a positive project, but maybe even more positive than that. So this project is courtesy of the energy developer AES. It's a 12.5 megawatt solar PV project with battery storage. The storage is a lithium ion battery energy storage, which enables the clean energy to be utilized by the HECO utility when it needs it. At the end of the 25-year power purchase agreement, AES will be required to decommission the improvements and return the land to its pre-construction condition. The project utilizes about 66 acres of land that's leased from UH, and this helps us meet our net zero mandate and also provides a revenue stream to support higher education for the University of Hawaii. I want to mention that the solar energy project site and its boundaries were intentionally defined to allow other UH West Oahu Mauka lands with higher agricultural productivity ratings to be used for future ag activities. And the developer will continue its efforts to coordinate with compatible ag operations, including honey production and rotational cattle grazing. The AES project is targeted for completion in June 2023, and that will start the operations of our electrical blanket up there. Moving on from out to in, getting closer to campus, I'd like to talk a little bit about our University District lands. The University District lands is about 180 acres of non-campus lands that surround our campus. And those are shown in the color blocks that highlight our university village. You can kind of akin a university village to sort of that town and gown environment that is near and dear to the heart of many mainland college campuses, where there's a lot of synergy between students, faculty, and community. The UH system was recently awarded $250,000 of state planning TOD funds to conduct a development feasibility study for the University District lands. And they are currently in the process of having those funds transferred from the state to the University of Hawaii. Second thing I want to bring up is that UH system is always also preparing a request for proposals, or RFP, to make the UDL, or University District lands, available for mixed-use development around the recently completed Ho'omohala Avenue, formerly known as Road B, and the Ke'one'ai Rail Station, which is the yellow areas. Discussions are continuing with parties who are interested in development of a private film studio near our Academy of Creative Media. The lavender area, shown in the slide, is our selected site for future campus housing. We have put out a solicitation for a market study for a student housing demand study for our university. This will help us determine what is the demand for a 300-bed global living center for UH West Oahu. After that, if it proves to be a successful venture, we will move toward a public-private partnership RFP. And as you may know, the State Department of Transportation is preparing to start a Farrington Highway widening project. So this will entail the widening of the current right-of-way from a 2-lane to a 3-lane. And the 3rd lane will basically be a turning lane in the median. So you will still have just 1 lane in each direction with the turning lane. Improvements will include a sidewalk, bike lane, curb and gutters, as well as improved drainage and infrastructure in the area. This will require transfer about 5 acres of UH land along Farrington Highway, and in exchange, HDOT will grant and construct 2 new UH access points along Farrington Highway, which will be important for our future land development. HDOT is targeting a notice to proceed date of January 23rd. So legal and system office is currently pushing to get an agreement on the Board of Regents agenda this month. Construction of the 3.2 mile stretch will start from the east side at Fort Weaver Road and make its way to Kapolei Golf Club driveway. And it will take about 18 months to complete. So while we may not be immediately impacted, we may see some congestion and detours as the project progresses toward our campus. Oops. And finally, on our campus, so for those of you who are new to our campus or have been working remotely for the last 12 months or so, the bookstore, which used to be over there upstairs behind solid doors and hard to find, has been relocated to this location down here, kind of sort of like on a street corner, better proximity to foot traffic, and a much more visible location for a retail use. So if you have not visited yet, please go down and visit Corey and check out what she has for sale there. And it's also next to the dining hall, and you can actually go in and out between the dining hall and the bookstore. You don't have to go back around and re-enter. So that's a great convenience. Now, the relocation of the bookstore frees up C226, which is the former bookstore space. Thus, we are converting that into a test center, a bigger and better testing center. This will allow Noe Al Center, which is located in the library, to relocate their testing operations to a dedicated space within Campus Center. It's about 2,114 square foot interior renovation, and it will include a reception desk, a reception check-in area at the entry, quiet preparation area, employee workstations, a large general test room designed to initially seat 24, but has room to expand, and 2 smaller individual test rooms, as you can see in the illustration. We anticipate going out for construction bid sometime this year, as we do have construction funds slated for the completion of this project. Yay! Yay! Information on our other planning and design and construction efforts can be accessed from our UH West Oahu microsite, which was developed with IT. Or you can reach out to James Shadid or Fanita Long from my staff if you would like more information or if you have questions. That's it. Thank you.
Well, let's give all of our presenters a big hand. You know, I really could not do my job without the people who presented today, but also, as Loki recognized, Jan Javinar, who was working hand in hand, side by side with Jeff and Alan Rosenfeld and I over the pandemic years to ensure that we kept going, we kept steering the ship forward. I would also like to acknowledge all of our division chairs and all of our directors in student affairs and in administration. Without all of their putting their shoulder to the wheel and getting their hands dirty and helping us out, we would not be here today celebrating as we are. Over the next couple of weeks, I will be at the state legislature in information briefings, and a variety of other meetings, providing information about the University of Hawaii West Oahu. Just recently, I had an opportunity, I had 5 minutes, I did 6, and people were timing me because I was practicing to try to get it down to 5. I began by, first of all, saying that UH West Oahu is a mission-driven institution, and that's why I began with the vision, mission, and the value proposition. You know, our WASC accreditation campus report this last year acknowledged that we not only claim that we are a student learner centered institution, but that we lived into being a student learner centered institution. The chair of the accreditation committee said to me in my one-on-one meeting with him that he reads this in every campus he goes to about how student-centered they are. But he said he had never seen in every one of his meetings, he had never heard and he had never felt the commitment that each and every one of you who met with them had to learner and student success. So thank you to all of you for your care, your professionalism, and your passion for our students and lifelong learning. And that's why we are a mission-driven institution. I mentioned our value proposition earlier because our value proposition is really one of stewardship. We are the stewards of this community in which we sit. We serve in particular in a way of investing our time, our knowledge, our skill, our resources to strengthening the programs that you provide, strengthening the people that we serve and the pathways that serve them, that enable all of our students to achieve their life, family, and career aspirations. And that's a really big responsibility, and you have done it marvelously. Now, our decisions that we have been making over the last several years, how we behave, over the last several years, I have realized that so many of you are invested in this campus, and I am proud to be your chancellor because of that. I have seen many of you establish relationships not only with one another from across different divisions, across different departments, establish relationships in our community, with our schools, with our businesses, in ways that are caring and respectful and provide great opportunity for our students now and our students in the future. And this care, this respect for relationships is an imperative for us right now. It is extremely important because what we need to do coming back out of COVID is to reclaim the momentum that we had going into 2020. It's no mistake that in the fall of 2020, we hit high numbers because of the amount of work and effort that every one of you put into building the momentum. But we can't use COVID as an excuse. We have to use this opportunity as a way to rally ourselves around our values, around our value proposition, to move our campus forward. So, over the past 6 years, we have introduced into our collective university mindset guiding principles that define the how and the why of what we do. Now, those of you who attended our fall graduation know the importance of the why. One of our graduate speakers, who is the mother of one Kim Reed, who is one of our administrative officers, Abby Kahulu Reed, she called up on stage all of her grandchildren. Do you remember that? The Kleenex started coming out. And she pointed to her grandchildren and she said that was her why. Indeed, our students and our future students, the health and well-being and the prosperity of this community is our why. It is our why. It is our commitment. It should be our passion. Our guiding principles drive those decisions that we make to meet our why. Our actions will be assessed by the extent to which we meet that why. So we begin with Po'okela, to strive for, to reach for excellence. I had Brian and Layla pull together some of the top stories. How many got many clicks on our website, and how many were sort of the highlights, ones that people have mentioned many times. In terms of our excellence, you've heard many of our accomplishments from those who presented before me, but do you recall that during the pandemic, we co-hosted the North American Indigenous Nations Round Dance down there in the Naulu Outdoor Center, and we had families and community members. It got the most clicks on all of the events we had the entire year, last year. So thank you. And if you weren't there, you missed Jeff dancing. Yeah, we'll have to have him again show us those moves, Jeff. We, with the support of our librarians, we were able to host Americans and the Holocaust traveling exhibition. So to our librarians, mahalo for that. That was an extremely important event, not only for this campus, this side of the island, but for the state of Hawaii. So mahalo for your efforts to bring that exhibition here. We also hosted the first Kanikuola UH System Music Festival, and we're hoping that that will continue, Dr. Magnuson. I saw you in the room, so I thought I would just mention that. We brought back the Campbell Kapolei Career Expo with the Kapolei Chamber of Commerce. And we also invited Waianae High School and Nanakuli High School administrators and lead teachers to this event, because we want to extend it to the high schools on the Leeward Coast as well. So that was a great event. Po'okela, reaching for excellence, aspiring to be the very best. Kauhale, to build spaces of critical and empowering hubs that engage dynamic learning and connections for both and our campus and off-campus communities. So mahalo again to all of you for creating innovative classes, certificates, short programs, and to our IT group who help us to do things in innovative, forward-looking ways. Hana lave lave, to work hard to take knowledge deeper, apply it, and make a difference. And for this, I do want to mahalo Kamania Graham Tut. Where are you, Kamania? You know that she has really spearheaded. Where's that? No, there's just one. Oops. She single-handedly has been producing our student scholarship presentations. And now with the help of so many of you, and now we may have a student journal as well coming on board as well. Uplifting the scholarship of our students is extraordinary. So mahalo for your passion and for your work with the faculty and staff in professional development, taking that one on as well. Malama, to care to care for all that nourishes us, the health and well-being of all our students and employees. As you know, last semester, we administered the Healthy Mind Survey. We just got some of the raw data. The final report will come to us beginning of summer, and we will be able to utilize the information from that national survey to improve our health and wellness offerings, not only for our students, but also for our faculty and staff. All that we do individually, all that you do individually contributes to the educative enterprise here at the University of Hawaii, West Oahu. What you do creates the abundance, the vai-vai, the culture of generosity, of spirit, of prosperity, of knowledge generated, shared, and applied, of wisdom that grounds each of us. So our principles do, in fact, guide everything that we do on this campus. It does help us to achieve our why. As we come out of COVID and we go into 2023, I want you all to know that I am committed to work hard every day to ensure that we live into these principles, as I believe that if we come to work with these principled ideas, these principled concepts, these principled themes, working every day to strive for excellence in our stewardship, to come with aloha, and as you saw with Auntie Lynette Paglinawan's slide, to come with aloha means to come with the art of understanding and empathy. That if we do that every day, the joy and the wonder of learning, of lifelong learning, can be present in every one of the spaces on this campus. When I came, the call for all of us was pupukahi I holomua. That is still our call. We need to work together this year to live into our promise of stewardship for our West Side communities, our families, and our UH West Oahu students. I refer to a line in an oli written about one of Queen Emma's journeys up the slopes of Mauna Kea when she turned around to her entourage just behind her, to urge them to keep moving forward, to keep striving for the summit. She turned around and she said, "E eleu mai o ko." Step lively. Let's move together. That is my call to every one of you today for this semester. E eleu mai o ko. Step lively. Let's move forward together. I want to mahalo each and every one of you for your attention this morning and for everything that you do for our students and for each other. And I want to wish you all a very productive and fulfilling spring semester. Mahalo, and it's time for lunch. I believe that all of your lunches will be served in downstairs in the Naulu Outdoor Learning Center. Have a wonderful, wonderful day today, a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday, the start of the semester. Aloha.